What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Joshua T. Berglan, and you are watching the World's Mayor Experience, episode 6. Man, 6 episodes. That's exciting. I remember all my other broadcasts, I would get up to like 200 and 300 and then start new. Like now I'm at 6 already. It just seems like I just started the World's Mayor Experience. Well, anyway, listen, we have an amazing guest today. And I say that about all of our guests. It's because I literally handpick the guest. Like I don't just have anyone on. If I feel led to have them on, feel like their message is important, then I want to talk to them. I want to have a conversation. And of course, our last broadcast with Noah Healy is mind blowing. There's multiple clips put out all over YouTube and podcast. And then the full length episode 2, which is 2.5 hours long. I don't normally do that long a broadcast anymore. That's why I cut this up in clips. But Noah Healy is one of the smartest people on the planet. And he has a solution for the financial system that is pretty epic. And of course, those of you who believe that we're heading into a new financial system like I do, well, I also believe that there's going to be alternatives to that financial system that is brought forth that most of the world will participate in, most likely. Anyway, not that I know absolute truths about that. I just have a lot of opinions and education. Of course, the thing about this is, aren't we, with our education, at the mercy of whoever wrote the book? And then we're at the mercy of who funded that book getting made? Or, where did the research come from? I mean, there's all of these things. Like, how do we really know it's true? Just because we read it in a book, just because millions of people said what's in the book is true? Do we just say that that's true? I mean, I've witnessed in my own lifetime our governments and media rewrite history. I mean, the last 3.5, 4 years has been nothing but rewriting history. Well, I didn't say that. He said it. I didn't do that. He did it. Everyone's pointing the finger at the other person for doing what they're doing. But here's the thing. Our government does it, but we do it too. We gaslight the crap out of each other. We do it nonstop. We do it. Our religions make us do it. Our politics make us do it. Heck, rooting for our favorite sports teams make it happen. And all the while, what good is it doing? What good is our opinions really doing? Are we leading people to peace? Because I used to think, and I'm growing in this area, I used to believe that we're to lead people to truth. I used to believe that we're supposed to take the truth and shove it in their face. And you take it. No, it doesn't work that way at all. I mean, literally, I think Orwell said this, I think, but you could show people the truth. No, maybe it was the Rockefellers that said this. I don't even know. Too many other voices. Anyway, I'm like deprogramming myself from being a conspiracy theorist. Even though a lot of the conspiracies have come true, the fact is they didn't exactly come out true in the exact form that, it's told to us. The order of things, the timing of things, none of that is actually anywhere really that correct. But again, some of it's true because it's all rooted in truth. But all conspiracies rooted in truth. But even if you think about comedy can't be funny unless it is kind of true. I mean, yeah, you can be a little grandiose and you can exaggerate a little bit, but it's got to be rooted in truth to be funny. And even a lie's got to have some truth in it. So when we go out and we're trying to be truthers and tell the truth and spread the truth, where are we really getting the information from? Is it from a meme? Is it from a book? Well, which book? Well, the book's been around for thousands of years. Well, but who funded the translating of that book? Who funded the research to come in and modify that book or to take books away? Who decided that? Where did this come from? Our science books or history books? Someone paid to have them made. Is it possible, if I'm spending the money to have something made for the world to see and, oh, by the way, be forced to use, when you think about education, if I'm paying for these books, then I want you to believe what I want you to believe. I mean, well, how is that possible? Did everyone just sit around and get together and decide that this is gonna how it's gonna be? Well, I mean, if you think about it, the power of the media lies in the hands of a few. And our goal here is to help contribute to splintering the power that lies in the hands of a few into millions of pieces and distributing it to millions. That's why we are so passionate about teaching media literacy. It is my life's mission to teach media literacy to anyone that needs it. Specifically, very passionate about the youth, very passionate about inner city kids, very passionate about kids that have been sexually abused and physically abused. I'm very passionate about trafficking victims and the homeless and the mentally unique. Very, very passionate about that. People that struggling financially, they're just stuck in a generational curse of poverty. Passionate about helping them. That's what the World's Mayor Experience is all about. Of course, we have a huge vision and a huge goal to create an experience globally where we travel to a city, we serve for 2 weeks at a time, working with local organizations, helping them equip them with all of the media resources and skills and training that they need. Because here's the thing, if you know media, you can monetize anything. You can make your dreams come true if you know media. Those are facts. And the best thing about media is that you can use your gifts, your talents, and your intellectual property to provide for yourself, to make a living in it. I know this, when I'm doing what I'm created to do, well, I feel good. And it's not even a selfish thing, because what we're created to do is be a blessing, use our gifts and talents to help other people. That's the value we create. And then we get to be paid for that. We get to be compensated. You know, I love the kingdom mentality of exchanging value for value. Whether you have money or not, you have time and talent, maybe treasure, but we can work with that. So any of my services on theworldsmayor.com or joshuatberglan.com, any of those services, yeah, there's some of them are pretty expensive. Yeah, absolutely. But if you don't have the money, I'm willing to work with you in exchange. Time, talent, okay, let's exchange. Because if you don't have the treasure, but you have a need and a desire and a want, you want to learn, I'll teach you, period. Love teaching, very passionate about this. So excited about getting to teach media in our community of Northfield, Minnesota. Absolute gift, absolute blessing. Can't wait to do it. That starts in 2 weeks, and could not be more pumped about that. And then also there's some other really neat things happening in the education front. So we're very serious about this, but the World's Mayor Experience is meant to travel, serve, teach, and of course, create community experiences that bring people together from all walks of life to share resources, to provide resources, and make a difference. Because we heal a community that has impact. And as big of a global vision as I have, without community, that doesn't happen. You got to take care of your own backyard first, right? And so, or wherever you're called, because some people are called to be missionaries and they go to another community to help. Well, I love my community. I want to contribute here, but I want to contribute around the world too, and really expand what we've been doing the last few years. So part of that, and getting back to the truth comment that I made, is that I'm learning that a lot of truths that I thought and believed are not necessarily true. And even if the things are true, it doesn't mean that other people are ready to hear it yet. So I'm learning a better way, but I do know that it is becoming very uncomfortable to watch people share things that they believe absolutely are true, and seeing others get hurt by it. And it breaks my heart, because I don't believe that we can have healing that way. And this is an area that I'm looking to grow as much as possible. So anyway, that little rant is over. I want to thank you so much for being here, Daniel. It's Dluzneski, and I hope I said that right. This is going to be fascinating. We're going to talk about keeping our children safe in schools. Evidently, of course, we've all seen the news and some of the horrific things that have gone on well, in my lifetime, the last 44 years. But here especially, it seems like there's school shootings just all the time. And a lot of kids just don't feel safe. And is taking guns away the answer? I don't believe that. I do think there should be stricter gun laws, but I'm not an expert. I do think that there's some common sense approaches. And unfortunately, we don't really have that many common sense approaches about anything. So everything's got to be one extreme or another. And I know the pendulum will swing back the other way, but how much damage is done when you swing it all the way over there or all the way over there? It can hurt some people. So I'm looking forward to maybe learning some solutions today and some ideas. And after all, our guest, former Secret Service agent. So he's going to know some things, but he's way more qualified than that. Got way more going on. This is going to be a lot of fun. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. Oh, by the way, wherever you're watching from, it would be amazing if you shared this out with your friends, anyone that you believe that would find value in this. And of course, liking, subscribing, and doing all that stuff means a lot too. If you're watching at theworldsmayor.com or joshuatberglan.com, thank you for your support. Ultimately, that's the best place is the website to watch or listen. But I appreciate your support no matter where you're watching or listening. We have a big mission, and it takes every bit of support we can get to get there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I don't want to butcher his last name again. We've never spoken before, but Mr. Dluzneski, this is going to be great. And listen, if you're a parent out there and you're scared for your children and you're wanting to take them out of schools, maybe there's a solution here. Let's find out together. Let's learn about our guests together like we normally do. Thank you for being here. See you soon. I mean, like right after this message. Welcome back to the World's Mayor Experience. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a treat. I got to visit a little bit before we started recording. And other than the fact that I realized I completely butchered this gentleman's name in the opening because Dluzneski, my dyslexia and the roll of the tongue just sometimes go at war with each other. But that is not meant to be disrespectful whatsoever because Daniel, our guest, and I'm gonna let him say it because he just said it to me, and my brain just like I think exploded when he did. But I got to tell you, I know as I shared in the opening, I'm friends with another gentleman that was in the Secret Service, the movie company that I represent and I'm a partner of. Get to talk to him quite a bit, and he's one of the neatest guys I've ever met. But when you see him, there is that little thing of like, oh crap, he could hurt me. Daniel, on the other hand, just like I just want to like hang out and have a conversation and maybe walk around the neighborhood and just pick his brain. Like that's the vibe from I'm getting. Now maybe he's going to show another side. I don't know, but without further ado, I'm already in love with the guy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Daniel Dluzneski. Did I do it right?
Oh God, you were close. It's Dluzneski. You just pronounce all the letters. It's funny because normally people don't see a D and an L. They're like, okay, something's got to be silent here. You can't pronounce that. But no, you just pronounce all the letters. Dluzneski. Just take your time and pronounce it. So no problem, Joshua. No big.
Thank you for being so kind and not taking offense. Before we get into questions, because there's a lot that I want to get into with you because it's just such an interesting life you've had. And your passion now is something that means something to me, and I know it's going to mean something to my wife, and then all of the other parents out there, and even people that have experienced violence in their own schools. This is going to mean something to you all. But without that, before we get into that, Daniel, can you tell us what are you grateful for today and why?
Grateful for a couple of things, obviously more than a couple of things, but just shortly, grateful for my son. Adopted him from Vietnam when he was 6 months old. We were very fortunate to get him when he was that young because we wanted someone as young as possible for that imprinting. We spent about 3 weeks in Vietnam and went through the process, and it was a hard process. And it's hard to say. It's funny to say, but the United States was more of the problem than the Vietnamese side of it. Anyways, once we went through that process and got him home, oh my gosh, he's ours. We're home. He now is 17 years old. He is a senior in high school. He is getting very good grades. He's in the International Baccalaureate program. And of course, now we're going through the stress. Well, it's kind of stress of the college applications and where he wants to go to college. So I'm grateful for that. And secondly, grateful for my wife, my second wife, who just is my soulmate, who it just was a chance meeting, basically set up by a friend, a mutual friend who I had no idea, and through a therapist. So it talks about kismet and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm very grateful for both of them. And now we're in a situation where my wife is younger than me. She's also a doctor. So I'm grateful that she can take care of my health because I'm older than her. And I've got some issues, not very serious issues. But yeah, so those are the two people that I'm very grateful to.
It means a lot to me when I ask that question and someone gives me a heartfelt answer. I get a lot, there's a lot of generic answers that I get, and I believe them, but that came from a special place, and that's really, really cool. I love that. And when you're giving your gratitude, it gave me like 50 other questions to ask you that would completely take us off the topic of why you're here. So maybe we'll have more of a personal, deep down conversation the next time you come back. But I would love to know if you could talk a little bit about your journey from Southern Illinois University to becoming a lieutenant in the U.S. Secret Service.
Not to take too much, we'll try to get it to the Reader's Digest version. People still know what Reader's Digest is. It's old school.
When I like Reader's Digest.
When I got out of college, at that point, I was like, okay, I want to do something in law enforcement because the reason I went to Southern Illinois is I wanted to be a radio broadcaster. I wanted to do sportscasting like Marv Albert because I was a fan of his, not necessarily listening to the Knicks broadcast. I wasn't a Knicks fan. I was more of a Laker fan, believe it, from Connecticut. Anyway, that's what I wanted to do. And I got out there and it became very cliquish. And it was always the right people, not in the right spots. And I was going to have a minor in criminal justice. And I flipped over and got a major in criminal justice and got out of there, went back home to Connecticut and started applying to various police agencies. And it didn't work out for me. It just was very frustrating. And, at the back of your mind when you're young, most of the time when you're young, and not that I did things dangerously, but when you're young, you're like, most cops are jerks because what? You're getting pulled over, you get this, they're yelling at you, the authority, and I had an authoritarian dad. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this or not. So I just kind of knocked around in different jobs. And I worked at a warehouse. I worked for DHL, which was like a Federal Express company, which I really enjoyed. But it wasn't going anywhere. It was a very long commute. So I left that and I went and worked in security for a while. I worked at some parts. I was all over the place. Had no career aspirations at that time. I could always make money. I could always find work. I was fine. I had a mortgage, but it wasn't too bad. I was in a condo. Anyway, this is before the internet. Either someone told me or I just heard in the periphery a job with the Secret Service. I said, I don't know if I want to be one of those agents that dress up. And they said, no. There's something called the Uniform Division, which is a specialized unit. And they have all the specialized programs. You got Canine and Motorcade and Counter Sniper. And they got these SWAT teams. I'm like, all right, that sounds a little better. So this was back early 80s. And I applied, went through the whole process. And then I get a packet in the mail. And there's red magic marker in it saying your height must be in proportion to your weight. And I'm thinking, is there a typo? They think I'm obese? What are they? I weighed like 165 soaking wet, right? Same height. So I'm like, what the hell? So I sent it back. A note saying, this is my height and weight. What is the issue? They sent it right back to me again. No, height must be. I'm like, oh my God. Somehow I got through the phone and talked to them. They're like, Yeah, for your height, you're supposed to be, I think I was supposed to be like 175 or something like that, something ridiculous. And I said, well, hire me. I'll gain the weight for God's sakes. I'll drink, eat bananas. What the hell are you talking about? It made no sense to me that to be underweight, they wouldn't hire you. So, anyways, I went on this weight training program, stupid Dan. Instead of going to my doctor and say, hey, doc, get some white out and add about 10 pounds, and I'm not going to worry about it, right? No, I go through a weight training program, and my metabolism, it took me over a month to gain that weight, right?
Wow.
All right, so I gained the weight. Call him back. I'm ready. Here we go. Sign me up. Oh, you just missed the class.
Oh,
well, when's the next class? Well, about a year from now. I'm like, the hell? I'm going to wait around for a year for you people? So I found out later on when I did finally get hired 8 years later, they said, oh, yeah, Dan, back in the early 80s, guys used to come in with $50 things in their hands to make the weight. I'm like, what? What is this, the military? I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so now I've got 8 years that I'm just hanging around again. Now I'm in my 30s, again, with no career. And I find out that the maximum age was 34 in order to be hired by the Secret Service. And I was 32. I said, oh, what the hell? I'll try again. This time I try again. Smooth sailing all the way through. Everything's fine. Get on, do my training. I'm 10 years older than everybody else in the class, right? So they're like, are you going to make it? I'm like, you give me a challenge like that? Hell yeah, I'm going to make it. So very well in the class, not only academically, but shooting. And I think what it was, it was, timing was right, because not only once I got out, I was one of the few, this is again, back in the 80s, probably 25% of the new hires had a college degree, because at that time you didn't need a college degree to get in the uniform division. You're 21 years old, yeah, we'll hire you. So I was one of the few that had a college degree. So now I've got supervisors who were my age saying, wait a minute, this guy over here, it sounds like he's squared away. So I got more opportunities than, yes, my junior officers, because of my age and because of my experience. And I had a great time. I mean, it just went along. Now, yeah, sure. After 24 years, there were times where I had bad supervisors and horrible bosses, but it always changes. It was always rotating. You're always either, now the nice thing was I got to stay in Washington, D.C. I didn't have to get moved around all over the country, but the opportunities were there. I got into Canine with only 3 years on the job, one of the juniorest guys to ever get into Canine. And I had this great dog. And it just, I don't know, the stars didn't align. He didn't work out. And the only reason he didn't work out is because not only was he immature, but he just gave up. I know he was working for me. He wasn't working for his reward. He didn't give a crap about the reward. He was working for me. And I think after a while, he just said, I don't feel like doing this anymore. And we went back to training, and all the experts in training couldn't figure it out. And they were like, what are we going to do? And I was like, as long as I can keep him, I really don't care. So this was unprecedented, because you're talking about a dog that you purchased overseas. They're putting in all the money for your training and purchasing the dog. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Now, the Secret Service is like, all that dog was equipment. That's all they cared about. They didn't care about the bond that you already have, because that's one thing about Secret Service, different from the military. They want you to bond with that dog. You want to get that dog home with you and your family all the time, 24 hours a day. No putting him in a kennel and you come and get him like in the military and grab the dog and go out. And he was a Belgian Malinois. And I don't know if you've heard about these dogs, these red dogs that a lot of police agencies use now. They are smaller and less problems with their hips that were German Shepherds. A lot of agencies are going over to these Belgian Malinois because not only are their aggressiveness, their intelligence, but they last much longer and they have the drive. I mean, they will go until they drop, basically, which is kind of a negative towards them, but they'll just keep going. Anyway, this is unprecedented. I had to wait like 6 months because all the rumors were starting. You're not going to be able to retire with the dog. We're going to put him down. We're going to give him to some other agency, on and on and on. So here I am under all this pressure of like, look, the dog's not working out. They were not going to give me another dog. They were like, okay, what's our choices? So I went all the way up to the top. And they finally agreed I could keep the dog, but I need to be transferred to the White House, which like a lot of times, a lot of officers thought that was death because the White House was just It's just guard duty, basically. Anyway, that's what happened. I got to keep the dog, so I was happy with that. He was a very good family pet. He lived till he was 13 years old. I loved him. I got a tattoo of him. I'll see him again. And it's just a different aspect. I don't know if you've talked to officers that had work dogs. It's a different aspect than a family pet because this is your partner. They're with you 24 hours a day. They depend on you 24 hours a day. So it was very difficult, to once he had to be put down. Anyway, I still enjoyed working with him and working with the agency. So, but you know what? I went from there to the White House. I started going up in rank. I started getting more opportunities. I was in public affairs for a while. I got to be a crime scene search officer. I mean, the opportunities that I received, I don't know if I would have gotten if I was much younger. So it was a great career. I started with the end of Reagan's term, ended with Obama's term, and, no regrets. I retired from there, moved down here to Florida, going to sit on the beach, and that was it. Well, probably as you know, Joshua, an alpha personality, that lasts about 3-4 months because you're going crazy because you're just like, I got to do something. I could not sit around. I don't know how much running can I do? How much, exercise could you get? How many times can you vacuum the floor or, do laundry? Anyway, it's just an opportunity here in Pinellas County that they opened up. And it was my ex-wife at the time who mentioned it saying, hey, try that, look in the school system to see, I think there's an opportunity there for you. And there was an emergency management position, fit my resume perfectly. I got in there and I was given the reins. I wasn't given autonomy, but I was given the reins to be an emergency manager for the school system here in Pinellas County, which has about 100,000 students, 140 schools. But it was just me. I had no staff. That was it. I was it. I was the only, I'm it. That's it. Okay, you got it. Here you go. Here's all your paperwork and stuff and go at it. So I'm like, all right. The nice thing was my boss at the time, I was allowed to do that. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted with this position. So I said, okay. I couldn't stand being behind a desk. So I went and visited every 140 schools, every principal. It took me about a year to do it. But I made sure I went and visited all these schools. And I had a nice partners with me who dealt with the maintenance, who dealt with the doors, fences, cameras, phones, whatever. I had that staff right there with me. They didn't work for, they worked with me. They didn't work under me or anything like that. So I had suggestions I would bring up to them. Hey, what are we doing with 3-foot fences? They got to be at least 6 foot high. How come the lobbies aren't closed off? All these different issues that I would bring up. Unfortunately, they agreed. If they had the budget, they would be allowed to do it. The other thing that I changed, and obviously there was a lot of research out there. I read about all this stuff because not that I was thrown into it unknowing what was needed with schools, but with my Secret Service background, I had dealt with a lot of this stuff, but security-wise, because you just question it, why? It was a lot of whys when I went here. You would go and they would have a drill, but they would use codes. Now, this is back, what? I don't know, when did I leave there? 5 years ago? They were using codes. And I couldn't understand. I said, you use a code. I don't care what it is, whatever color you pick. Most of the time it's code red. Well, if you got visitors there or substitute teachers or maintenance workers, they're going to hear a code red going, okay, that doesn't sound good. I don't know what that is. What is code red? So I had to make them change and use plain language. Look, if you're going to do a lockdown, say it. We're in a lockdown. We're in a lockout. We have a bomb threat, whatever. Just put it out there. I don't care. Get rid of the codes. That took a while because they were pushback on that, on these stinking codes. And there are schools still out there that use codes, which is just, to me, just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, I was able to change that. And gradually, because it was very incremental, the changes per school and the drills that I ran, there was a lot of pushback on that too. But once they saw the staff, teachers, students, and parents, who also I had issues with, saw what works, what's supposed to work, what's supposed to keep your kids safe, they finally agreed and said, okay, we'll follow along with this, even though, and I'm sorry, Joshua, because I'm very passionate about this and sometimes I don't shut up. So if you need to interrupt me, please just hold your hand up or whatever. But what happened was when we would do these drills, especially high school, middle elementary school, okay, any lockdown drill that you're going to do, if you've got 800, 1,000 students, minimum an hour. Okay. So now you're taking an hour away from teachers who are under pressure already, especially now with the pandemic. But this was after I had already left, even during when I was there, because they're under pressure to get their grade of their school to, A, B, C. If they're at a D or an F, they're already pissed. Wait a minute, I got to take an hour out of teaching. I'm already under pressure because I got a D or F school. And now you're going to tell me I got to run this stinking drill? So what would happen is a lot of times they'd run the drill without me and without my knowledge. And that got straightened out, thank God. They would run the drill and they would just say, okay, we've got into lockdown drill. Go ahead and lock down. And they'd wait and they'd look at their watch and 10 minutes go by. Okay, drill's over, back to school. What? What the hell did you just do? So I said, okay, the hell with this. You better tell me the next time you're having a drill because I want to see it. I want to see what you do. And even while I was there, some of these high schools would run the drill properly until the end, because you have to go to a high school now, which most high schools are like campus size, and physically unlock those doors with a key. Now, what they would do is much easier and just make an announcement. I'm going to make an announcement. Drill's over. Okay, to hell with this. Back to school. Really? Okay, you are supposed to go with a key and unlock that door as if this thing is real, because I don't know if you're being held hostage by some bad guy getting on that loudspeaker and say, hey, drill's over, everybody come out so I can shoot your ass. Anyway, that was a real problem and still became a problem even after a number of years I was there. But I don't want to get off track. I mean, we can go back and easily go through different ways that how I started and what helps and what doesn't, and currently what's going on. Because I tell you what, currently what's going on, I completely disagree with. You've got the Department of Education and a few other agencies saying, you know what, your best option is to run or hide or fight. This is for schools they're talking about. We're not talking about a business. Run, hide, fight, if you've heard of it, Joshua, was created by Department of Homeland Security. There was a video made by Houston Police Department. It's out there. It's like 20 years old. It's a good video, but it's for corporate America. It's for adults. You see the shooter come into a building and he starts shooting people, and they say, okay, the narrator says, the first thing you want to do is run if you can. And you run out of the building to some designated place. Okay, if you can't do that, then you hide under your desk, in the office, whatever, lock the door. And if it comes to it, if that shooter is on you, you've got to fight. Okay, somebody, whoever, decided, this sounds like a good idea for schools. Really? Where did it become a good idea for schools? Why? You're talking about children in charge with one adult. So here's the deal. I tell people, put yourself in place of a teacher. Here you are, a teacher in a school. You got enough pressure on it already of teaching these kids. And now you're going to make this teacher into some paramilitary person with 2 hours of training to make a decision to say, you know what? Even though my classroom door is locked, I think we should run out of this building away from the shooter, which I really don't know where they're at. I hear shots over there, but I think we should all go 25 to 30 kids. And we're talking sometimes, obviously, middle, high, or elementary school kids, tiny children. So you're going to gather them up, bring them out into a hallway where they're going to hear horrible sounds. They're going to see horrible things and run them out of an exit, which you think is away from the shooter, to a designated spot. How do you think that's going to work out?
Not very well.
No. And not only is that teacher now liable legally to be sued for doing that, even during a drill. It's already out there. There's a company called Safe Havens International, the top company in the world, who has done research on this. They've got the staff that does it. It's run by a gentleman named Michael Dorn, my mentor. He's got at least 40 years experience with school security. And he's told me, look, it's dangerous. It's a liability. Even doing the drills, it's a liability. Don't do it. Run, hide, fight has no reason at all to be dealt with in schools. Now, qualify that with high schools. A high school, look, they're adults, probably can figure out if they want to run or if they want to stay in the classroom because they're all very widespread. But look what happened in Parkland. Parkland did a drill, an active shooter drill, a month before that shooting happened. The one thing they didn't do is they didn't prepare for if the fire alarm went off. So when this all happened, when crews got in there and the fire alarm went off, whether purposely or by accident, there were two teachers that did an interview after this incident happened. And of course, the two teachers said, we thought it was another drill. We just heard these shots going, oh, they're doing another drill. Well, the fire alarm goes off. Now, when the fire alarm goes off, they're told, hey, we got to leave the building. So they decide there was confusion now. Do we leave? Do we stay? What's going on? I'm hearing shots. I don't know. So just mass confusion. One teacher decided, no, I'm going to take my students out. I hear the shots. We're going to go in the other direction. And come to find out, those shots were echoes. So they were going towards the shooter. So this idea of giving teachers options is absolutely ridiculous. So what schools will do, will say, oh, well, we don't do exactly run, hide, fight. We run a modified version of run, hide, fight. Okay, what's your modified version? Do you run? Well, we for high schools, we might run. Yes, we might do that. Okay, what do you do for middle and elementary schools? Well, we don't have them run. Okay, do you have them locked down or shelter in place? Yeah, we do that. Okay. Do you have them fight? Are you going to have some little 6-year-old bring a soup can in so he can throw it at the shooter when he comes in the door? Well, no, we don't do that. Well, then you're in a lockdown. You're not in run, hide, fight. Why even use that terminology? What the hell's the matter with you? So this is just, it's asinine because there are plenty of agencies out there. Joshua, even law enforcement people are saying, oh yeah, we use run, hide, fight in our school system. And if you challenge them, ask them why. Well, no, they should have options. Why? Why would a teacher, why would you give that teacher that option? Why would you put them under that kind of pressure? I asked before I left my county school, I said, look, why are the classroom doors unlocked? Why? Oh, because kids want to go to the bathroom or kids want to do this. No, lock the door. During classroom sessions, that door should be locked. I don't care if you got to give a pass or open the door for them. Tough. You're already one step ahead if you have to go into a lockdown. Classroom door is already locked. What do you got to do? You turn the lights off, you pull the blinds down, you sit away from the door and away from the glass, you silence your phones, and you wait for the good guys. That's it. That's it. It's worked for 30 years. No one, well, I qualify that. One time a shooter busted through or broke through a locked door, and that was targeted because they were targeting one particular person. Any shooter now has not broken through a locked door, shot through a locked door. It takes too much time. They're looking for easy access. If you've seen that video of that Nashville shooter, they'll go along and check those doors. If they're locked, to move on. It's easier to move on, find an unlocked door. And they found unlocked doors. Hey, I'm going in there and see if I got easy victims. They're looking for easy victims. They will not shoot through a locked door. It takes too much time, or even shoot through the window. It's just, they got a clock in their head. They know the police are coming. And the police are there within 3 to 5 minutes on average, which is damn good. They did a hell of a job in Nashville, those police. So this idea that you get pushback that they're sitting ducks, they're not sitting ducks. The cops are coming. Sit and wait. It's okay. I know it feels like forever. The other thing I've had issues with, now I'm going to keep going, Dave, Joshua, until you stop me.
Well, I'm not good at interrupting. So I'm trying, like, you're kind of going through every question I would ask, you're answering them before I can ask. So it's like, I don't really feel like I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
I should have just teed this up differently and just said, introduced you like an MC and let you talk, because you have a passion for this and it's important information. And I don't want my questions to take you off path, but I'm going to, now that we've stopped, I am going to ask you something that is completely asinine and it may be offensive to you, but I've seen what comes through the media. And that's my area of focus is media, how media is weaponized and how it's used for good. It can be used for good. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of shady shit, pardon my French, but there is a lot of shady shit around some of these school shootings. And there is a belief by a very large population of people. It's not a conspiracy at this point. There's a lot of evidence and there's a lot of, but again, evidence is it really true? I mean, because again, the media can weaponize anything. There's a big belief from a lot of people that some of this school violence and these school shootings it's being orchestrated to bring in an agenda to take guns from people. You are an expert in this field, like this subject. I believe that you are qualified to answer this honestly, with integrity, and also be able to silence conspiracy, rumor, and everything else. Is what I just said completely bullcrap? And if it is, why? If it's not, I would love to hear it. Either way, will you talk about that?
Yeah, I don't think it's BS. And we can look at what's his name, Alex Jones, who apparently, obviously, as you know, just got sued for the Sandy Hook shooting, saying it never happened. To me, it just, and I grew up in that area. I was one town over in Monroe. My sister still lives in Newtown. She actually taught at that school, not at the time, previously, because she's close to my age. That school, that Sandy Hook school, is in this idyllic New England Courier and Ives picture, where it's hard to get to. Not say hard to get to. It's not. It's simple to get to. It's on a road that's a very narrow road. It's behind a fire station, which you can't even see. So that obviously was targeted by that individual. And yeah, it did happen. Anyways, this idea that, I know the media focuses on the numbers. When you look at Las Vegas, however many 40-something people shot. Yeah. You look at Orlando, the nightclub there. You look at Parkland. They're looking at the numbers. One or two killings, shootings in a school. Yeah, you may get some paragraph in there that may talk about it for about half an hour. Then they're going to forget about it. It's all about the numbers. So the more numbers, obviously, when that comes out, yes, then the gun control people start coming. If we had less guns, this wouldn't happen. It's always going to be thrown out because obviously, in my mind, and that's just an opinion. Most of your media is progressive and on the left of center, sometimes very much left of center. And that's what they want. And that agenda is followed by politics. So obviously this gun control issue is very political, absolutely political. Okay. But, and again, that's why I didn't mention it in my book, because it is very political. And my opinion is just my opinion. It's not factual. It's something you could take, from facts, but I'm sure there's plenty of stuff out there also that shows, as we know, concealed carry works better in some states that have concealed carry that do not have it. And you've seen cases where the media ignores people that have concealed carry that have saved lives. It happened in that church, I think, in Texas, happened in the mall here where the guy had shot the shooter. So you don't hear much about that because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't fit their narrative that guns can save lives. That doesn't fit their narrative. Their narrative is guns create violence. They create, all this stuff, and especially the AR-15 and blah, blah, blah. I don't get into that in the book, but if you want a straight answer from me, yeah, I believe it's out there. I believe they do. The reason they cover that so much is because they want this agenda to come out to take the guns away from people. But I would say the opposite, because there are also parents out there that want armed special resource officers in their schools. Now, when this stuff happened with the BLM movement and the defund the police movement, okay, they took a lot of police officers out of schools. They took a lot of school resource officers out of schools because of the uniform and whatever it was that these kids were afraid of. That still goes on today. I've had plenty of schools that I've seen in research that say the students do not want special resource officers in there because it creates this atmosphere, as we've seen in college, of oppression, and it makes them feel bad, and they want a safe space and all this other BS. Anyways, what happens is the parents are the one who push this, going, wait a minute, what are you doing? We need school resource officers armed in our schools. What do you mean you took them away? School resource officers are an advocate. They're not an adversary. They're an advocate in that school. They're an advocate for the parents, the students, the teachers. They go through intensive training. Yeah, not as much as police officers. They don't have police powers, but they go through intensive training dealing strictly with students. It's a lot different. I was in a Secret Service that dealt mostly with adults. I get into these schools. I don't know how to deal with these kids. I don't know how to deal with my own son sometimes. So they go through this intensive training to be an advocate. And I tell you what, once you've got them in the schools, if you ask anybody, I would say even students now, if you ask them if they like, Officer so-and-so, or they will tell you yes, unless you've got some inner city, low income area where they got my brother got arrested by someone. I'm not a police officer. I don't, I'm sorry about your brother, but I'm not here for that. I'm not here to arrest anyone. They don't have arrest powers. They're there to protect those students and that staff. That's the reason they're there. So I'm sorry we got off a little bit on track on this gun control thing, but it bothers me. Yes, it is my opinion, but that I stayed away from that in the book because it's too political, too divisive.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask that question, so I took us off that path. But now I want to get back into the path of your book, and I would like for you to share, what the book's about. I want you to talk about why your training works, why people need this, and let's focus on that right now.
Yep, right here. It's called The First 5 Minutes, School Shooting Survival Guide for Administrators and Teachers. What happened was, after Uvalde, which was just a complete disaster, and I know the media focused on the police response, which, okay, they shouldn't have taken them half hour, 45 minutes, or whatever, to stand around before they go in there and took care of this guy. But there was also issues there with that school. They had broken lock on the door, teachers stand outside smoking, the security guard was nowhere to be found. So there were issues leading up to this with the school and the preparation and the prevention at that school. Once that happened, I was so upset. My current wife said, look, you gotta vent. You gotta get something out there. So I just started writing. And I wanted a guidebook. And that's what this is. This is not a novel. This is not a 300-page administrative guide that you put on the shelf and collects dust, because when the press comes in and says, hey, do you have a security manual? Oh, yeah, it's right over here. Who reads things like that? I've read those things. It's all administrative edge-speak. It's what? I wanted something. I wanted a guidebook where you can flip through and say, okay, this literally takes you an hour to read. It's 77 pages, for God's sake. I mean, that's it. I wanted a practical guide that you can easily go to and say, hey, I need these steps, because as a teacher, all I want to know is what I got to do. I don't need to know, manual number, blah, 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 that the education system is telling me what to do. So that's the reason I wrote it. I wanted to keep it short. I wanted to keep in there not only a generic safety plan, just an easy one you can fill in, but I also wanted to put in there something that came up when I was working with Pinellas County. When I went to this one middle school, there was a guy there. He says, I don't know if this is a good idea. He says, but I wrote up these laminated credit card size cards, which have little ideas and opinions. I'm sorry, not opinions, but things on them that says what you need to do if there's a bomb threat, if the power goes out, if whatever. And I'm thinking, that's a good idea. So I had a doctor friend of mine, and I was talking to her about it. And she said, oh, yeah, even doctors have these laminated cards. She says, because I'm in a hospital. I'm like, I'll hear a code purple. I'm like, what the heck is that? So I got to look at my card, going, look at all these codes. Oh, that's what purple is. So she says, it sounds like a good idea. So that's what I did. I made them up. I made some laminated cards of my own. But I also have in there, in the book, that you can download these, cards, laminate them, and it'll say on there, just very short, what to do in a bomb threat, a lockdown, emergency, threatening weather, whatever. Because Joshua, as you know, and I've been through 9/11, but my training kicked in. But there's going to be times where you're going to be in this chaotic situation and your mind's going to go blank, literally, or you're going to freeze. No one knows how they're going to react in an emergency situation. No one knows that. So if that happens, that you look at the card going, oh, crap, I forgot to turn the lights off, or I forgot to pull the blind. You're going to forget stuff. Look at the card. Bing. Okay. Oh, I fit the narrowest stuff I could get on there so they can quickly just get into a lockdown in their classroom, or if it's a bomb threat, or if it's a lockout, or if threatening weather, or bomb, whatever. So that's in the book. Anyways, and I also wanted to make sure I put in here the idea of drilling. Now, I just got pushed back on LinkedIn because there's a couple mentors on there, not only Michael Dorn, but this other guy called Ken Trump, who's also been doing it for like 35, 40 years. Anyways, and they were saying too much drilling can also hurt. Okay, I understand if you drill too much, after a while, like fire drills, just like, oh, geez, here we go, once a month. Okay, let's get outside and get this over with. Okay, the bell rang, let's go back in and start teaching again. Like, oh my God, you can close your eyes and do a fire drill. When's the last time we had a fire in a school anyways that killed anybody? It's been like 150 years or something like that. Anyway, I wanted, instead of once a year, at least quarterly, do a lockdown drill. But you got to do it properly, okay? In the Secret Service, we would go to training. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't even know if you know. You probably should know from the guy you're talking to the Secret Service. We had to qualify with our weapons every month. Every month. No other agency does that. Most agencies are 6 months. Some are quarters. Some are once a year. Every month we had to go down there and qualify. And oh my God, it became a pain in the neck. I got to go again. Okay. And shoot. And okay. But what did that do? It created immediate muscle memory. You automatically, boom, you're on it. Just every month, it was like rote. It was, and I love putting that in the book about muscle memory or implicit memory, meaning if someone's confused, implicit memory is you just do it without even thinking. When you get up in the morning, what are you going to do? You're looking at your phone. That's the first thing you're going to do. Get in the car, put the seatbelt on, button a shirt, tie a tie, anything. You're not thinking about it. You're just doing it because it's all muscle memory. That's the idea I wanted to put in about this drilling. I wanted teachers. There's no way you're going to get a normal person, a regular person, average person, to become some paramilitary soldier that they're going to automatically flip a switch and, oh, now they're going to be Rambo. Get the hell out of here. I want to give them as much information as possible. So when something happens, they can say, okay, I remember the drill. I remember the training. Even if it was a couple of hours, I remember he told me this, or he told me that, or I read in the book this, or I read in the book that. I wanted that implicit memory. So when they do have something happen, they can say, yes, I remember during this drill, we were told to do this, and we did it over and over again. So it becomes rote, just like anything else out there. Turn the lights off, lock the classroom door, blinds go down, students over there, sit quietly, good to go. That's it. Short, simple, wait. So that's what I wanted to get in here, that when you drill, take it seriously, drill correctly, and get that implicit memory. So the next time it happens for real, you're going to know exactly what to do. So I wanted more drilling. And again, it was tough to do because it has to come from the school board. It has to come from the legislature. And the pushback I get and the questions I get are from teachers. Because teachers will say to me, look, my administration says we have to run it this way. My administration says we have to do the options training. What do we do? I'm frustrated. What can I do? And I tell them, look, you can go to the school board meetings. You can write to your congressman and say, I disagree with this. This is what's happening at my school. And that's why I wanted to get parents involved. Parents have to talk to your students, your children. Ask them, what kind of drills do they run at your school? Even elementary schools. What are you guys doing for your safety drills? And what are the teachers having you do? Are you running out of the classroom? Are you staying in the classroom? Just ask them simple questions. What are they doing? And if they just give you an answer that I don't know, we ran a drill, well, then get more details or go to the school board meetings. Find out that now that parents, and recently, and I think it's a good thing, are getting more and more involved in education because of this pandemic stuff, this at-home stuff. They found out what they're actually teaching these kids, to go to these school board meetings and ask the question. I know when you get up to the lectern, you're only given 3 minutes, but just ask the question. How are we doing our safety training? I found out that we're doing this for safety training, and it's recommended that we do X. And I don't care. Bring up my book. Bring my name up. Bring up names of guys in LinkedIn, these guys, Michael Dorn and Ken Trump, who are the experts in entire school industry that deal with this. And you want to find out because you want the safety of your kids. I don't want my kid running out the door, during a school shooting. Why would I want that? And that's the other problem you run into if you're a teacher. You might have kids in that classroom that have parents that are in the military or law enforcement saying, you're not running out of that classroom. You're not going anywhere. Make sure that door's locked. You sit down and be quiet because the cops are on their way. So now you got a teacher saying, come on. The kid's like, oh, no, I'm not. My dad said I can't go. So why would you run into that issue also? Now, this idea that this back to this run, hide, fight, that they're saying, well, it's better than having kids that sit in ducks. And it's better than this. It's better than that. No. Have you tested it? Have you drilled for it? And when you're going to drill for it, what are you doing? You're not running. You're walking. You're going to walk real slow. Here's the route we would take. Here's the area of the exit we will go. What are you going to do in a real event? You're not going to walk. You're going to run like a maniac to get the hell out of that school as fast as possible so you don't get your ass shot. And you're dealing with blood and these sounds, these horrible sounds of screaming and people getting shot. I'm not putting anyone in that situation, especially children. And that really bothers me that when I'm on LinkedIn, I will see these private companies that will list in there, yes, we give options. We want you to run, hide, or fight. You're out of your mind. Have you even tested this? That's the thing I get from, I always hated the top-down attitude of government or any of these county, schools, state government. It's all top-down. I was always a bottom-up guy. I always thought, I'm going to ask the guy or the woman who deals with this crap. I want to know what works, what doesn't work. And I sure as hell have found anybody that says, yeah, run, hide, fight works. It may work in a high school. That's about the only thing that I can agree on. And obviously a college campus, because that is huge. Not for middle elementary schools. Absolutely not. No way.
This is all very interesting. We're very involved with education here in our community, and then we have some other national, global projects that are happening. And I'm going to get my hands on your book because I want to get this in front of. I meet the mayor next week, and for something that we're doing together, and I'm going to talk about this because it's necessary. I live in a this community here is amazing, and everyone takes care of each other. As we were sharing before, our town is known for the defeat of the Jesse James gang and how they did it. So I know that my community would be receptive to this because you're not saying take guns away. You're not saying they have a very common sense approach here to a lot of things. It's kind of remarkable. I'm like kind of honored to live here. So I think what you're doing is important, and I would actually like to have you on again, but I want to have you on in a different format because I don't have it exactly yet what I'm thinking, but to me, I feel like I need to get you in front of certain people because this message that you're delivering is very much common sense. And I think the way that you communicate it cuts through the BS pretty quick, and it makes it really hard to even argue because it is so common sense. So if you don't mind, I want to do this again. I'll definitely be in touch with you about that, and I'm going to get my hands on your book so I can get it in front of the people that I'm immediately thinking of. But for the audience, if you don't mind, share with everyone where they can follow you. Obviously, LinkedIn. Yes. But also, where can they buy your book? And then any last words you want to say, please share.
Yeah, definitely on LinkedIn. Again, the last name is spelled Dluzneski. And you find me on LinkedIn. My email's on there. Obviously, if you have any questions. But the book is on Amazon. If you type in the first 5 minutes, it'll be like in the first top 10. But again, if you go by my last name, it'll come up. You can get it in paperback form, or you can get it in, the Kindle form. And again, it's a short book. It really, I didn't write the book to make money. I wrote the book to make it easy for people to just become aware of what they have to deal with something that, again, doesn't take much, common sense, because the basic perception and prevention for schools is just a layered approach. And if you do that layered approach, it doesn't cost a lot of money. We haven't got into it yet, Joshua. I know we can talk later on, but this idea of technology of putting in metal detectors and now you're safe. It doesn't work.
Not true.
No, it's security theater. No, don't spend money on, I don't care if you get a grant. Don't spend the money on metal detectors. That doesn't make you safe. So this idea of technology is going to save us. No, it's a human factor that's going to save you. The humans that are trained correctly, drill properly, are going to make everybody more safer in that school, and the prevention policies. Yeah, you may have to spend a little more money on fencing, on front doors, and closing your lobby area. So when someone does come in, they've only got one way to go. They're either allowed access or they go back out, and you have one entrance. So I will finish by saying, number one, when you're in a situation like that, the number one thing is keep yourself safe. You've got to keep yourself safe before you can help anyone else. It's the same thing on an airplane. When an oxygen mask drops, you put yours on first. Then you can help this child or someone who needs help putting it on. Secondly, I already mentioned this, but SROs, armed SROs, school resource officers, are the most important thing right now that you can do for your schools if you have that ability to hire them. So those are just the top two things right now. But again, we can mention more the next time.
Well, again, I'm very grateful for your time, all the information. It's a lot. I definitely recommend getting your book. I mean, 77 pages of just common sense sounds awesome because you just can get to the point. I really am grateful for your time, grateful for what you do, and grateful for the fact that you can speak on such a subject with common sense as opposed to irrationality. So thank you. Thank you for your time, and look forward to doing this again.
You're welcome. Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you, sir.